decided to do my own data again. So I used a tool called Keen Tools, which I can talk more about later, to generate 14 minutes of data more, which was more or less similar to what you see here, but less quality because I had to do it in a few days on my own. But let me share that tab again. But yeah, for that data, I trained this guy, which I called Surat. Surat means face or visage in French. I think the French word is closer to what we mean in Turkish, but this is a Turkish word. But here's the code for what I did. You can kind of get it here if you want to, minus the data. But I basically use a library called PyTorch, and the initial results that I talked about a few minutes ago, you can see it here. I'm not gonna play this video because I guess it's gonna be choppy, but you can click this video on your end to see what I came up with for my initial results. But these results were basically the results that I was initially getting with that 30 seconds of training data. So I recently did the 14 minutes data thing that I just mentioned, which looks something like this guy. So I basically, I shouldn't play this probably, but yeah, I basically worked with a friend of mine and his roommate. He's a voice actor, Samsor, and he's a great voice actor. If you guys need a voice actor, here's the link. I like to plug that in, even though I paid them. But yeah, so I basically got this data, and I started training my model with this enormous data set that is 14 minutes long. What is suggested in the original publication was about 3 to 5 minutes. So this is like 3 times that. So I'm having trouble kind of accommodating that in my code, which is why I don't have like a real-time demo for you guys. But there will be a real-time demo, which will be on a website called Yakamozayo. So this website's code is also on GitHub if you guys want to check it out. But this is the new model that I'm training, which is still training, and it will be hosted on this website when it's done. So this website basically records 4 minutes of my voice, then sends it back to the server, and the server kind of creates a temporary file for the recording to delete it afterwards when it's done. But it basically sends back around 60 megabytes of data, so don't use it on your phone, even though it works on the phone. But I have to compress that, and I shouldn't probably get that data back. But hopefully, when this is all trained, that website should give you the demo, hopefully close to what you would see in the original publication. And I think I can stop sharing that. Chrome tab. How do I think I stopped sharing that. Okay. Did you guys hear me okay? Did I talk into the void?
No, it was great.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Sweet. So how do I get rid of this YouTube video?
The same, the 3 dots at the lower right corner. It says stop YouTube video.
All right. So that was way less than. Oh no, that's 23 minutes. Okay. So I do wanna do the Q&A earlier than later, because I don't know what kind of questions you guys might have, or like how relatable all of this might have been, because when I usually talk about this kind of stuff, I usually talk to my peers about this, and there is some jargon that unconsciously used that you may not have understood.
Yeah, well, Ahmed, I thought it was a great presentation. And I mean,
thank you.
yeah, so way to go. I think that me coming from a visual effects background, I'm pretty familiar with those concepts. I'm curious, when you mentioned the 51 different facial expressions, are you talking about the FACS system?
It's loosely related to FACS. FACS has more.
Okay, do you want to maybe talk a bit about, like, are people
Yeah.
on the line interested in learning more about these expressions and how they were captured and like who came up with them? Because I think the history is kind of fascinating.
Yeah, that work is great. That's actually, that work is from 70s or 80s. This guy called Paul Ekman basically figured out that face, when emotes, does this patterns that we can actually measure, and if you not spontaneously but decidedly do those expressions, you actually feel those emotions. That's a whole different field of study, but it's amazing study. I would actually recommend you guys to read some of the books that Paul Ekman wrote. I'll just type Paul Ekman here.
I just posted in the Wikipedia as well.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like that concept in psychology that physically making a smile with your muscles after a minute can actually increase your mood, right? Like there's some evidence to support that.
Yeah, this guy found it out, basically.
Right.
But
and then how did they use? Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so he also came up with this system called facial action coding system to kind of figure this out, and some other stuff that he published. But this basically is a system that is used not only in visual effects and animation industry, but also in psychology or different stuff like forensic science for interrogations and whatever. There is like a popular TV series called Lie to Me. They talk about these methods. This is kind of what we use in the industry because it's well established and well studied, and it gives a pretty nice deconstruction of the facial expression to the units. So they basically give you codes for, say, an eyebrow raising this much and an eyebrow raising towards here, or eyebrows this part moved here, and it gives a common language to kind of make units out of these facial movements. And it's very useful because we rig that way mostly in the industry, or we use work that is based on that. Like Apple, the ARKit shapes that I'm talking about is 51. Yeah, that's great. 51 of these shapes. It's like a subset of FACS, but it's a very useful subset. They actually use it for Apple's emoji stuff when you have the depth camera and it kind of tries to emulate your facial expression. It's kind of limited, but the gist of the idea is there. And that's kind of what I used for my first model. I use those 51 shapes because they're more intuitively understandable and it's easier to work with.
So how do animators traditionally animate faces in visual effects?
Depends.
Like, how do they used to do it before this system?
Oh, this system is pretty old. If you're talking about CG animation, I would say it has always been there. Even though like we didn't call it FACS, we did the same thing because it's kind of the obvious thing to do. You have to deconstruct the facial movement to its units, and that those units can be named differently, but you have to have units of movement.
Right. Does anyone have any other questions?
Yeah.
How long did it take to train?
Oh, it's still training. So the first one took actually 8 hours for the 30-second data, but that was relatively simple because I had like 51 output values and 30 seconds of data. So the tuning of the model wasn't as complicated. Now I have many times that data, and instead of 51 shapes, I have 3 vertex positions per coordinate on the face, which is like 8,000, 9,000 points with XYZ coordinates. So it has been a little challenging. I'm still training on the GPU on the back, and it's probably gonna take until mid-April until I figure out the correct tuning. Now I'm training with minimal values, so it doesn't overfit the model. But after once I train it and get a good result, then I can hopefully tune it to train it within a day. But what they're suggesting with a 1080 Ti GPU, you should be able to do it in 8 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry, Annette, just to go back for a second, what are the inputs and outputs of the machine learning in this case?
Yeah, so the inputs would be a spectrum. In this case, it's called LPC autocorrelation, which is one of the methods used for speech analysis.
Okay.
Another popular one is called MFCC. It's Mel frequency spectrum something.
These are derivatives of the audio data?
Yeah, you basically, you probably know about Fourier transforms, right?
Yes.
So if you take a Fourier transform, you can get like frequencies for a specific time in that signal. So if you take a window into that signal and slide it slowly to get Fourier transforms, you get a spectrogram back. So that spectrogram would show you those frequencies. I can actually show you on that website. I have a live MFCC thing. Let me show you real quick. Can you see my screen, the tab? Hello.
Yeah.
Okay, so on this page, beta.yakamos.io, if you hit the record button, while it comes back, or when I speak, after it records, it shows you like kind of like a Winamp visualization of some sort. When it comes back, I will explain. But basically, it shows you a symmetric 13 by 13 MFCC output here, which is basically from just give me a. So you can see this, right?
Mm-hmm.
On this while I'm speaking, if you just take half of this from the middle, it's 13 values from lower frequencies to higher frequencies, and that's basically at that moment the Fourier transform of that signal. It shows you which of the frequencies you have at that time. Yeah, so that's one of the inputs. That's actually the input that kind of gives you that sound aspect, right? So other than that input, there is like a what's called a latent space input. So with the latent space inputs, you don't give them implicitly, but you basically define it as a noise first, and you tell the model to learn that.
Okay.
And those are the two inputs that it gives, and at the end of the model, the outputs are the phase coordinates, right? The point coordinates for the phase. So while it's training, I'll actually show you, because it's training, I'll show you the websites for the TensorWord as well. Easier to explain there. So this is what is training right now. So this would be a good kind of thing to show. So I have 3 loss functions, right? And for people that doesn't know how machine learning works or are interested, I'm gonna give the gist of it. So with machine learning, you basically give a bunch of input data, and you tell the model that you're expecting a bunch of output data. And for that model to learn anything at all, you have to also define what you're expecting it to learn. So in this case, you define at least one loss function or error function, they call it. And in this case, I have 3. And I have a motion loss, which is basically from one frame of animation to the other frame of animation, what it's supposed to, what the difference of those 2 frames should be. And lower values are always good, because you're basically telling the model that the difference of this frame to this frame, you should match this value, right? So it kind of assures the coherence of animation. This shape thing is basically the coordinates that you want versus the coordinates it generates. So this is that loss value. But this emotion thing, which is kind of interesting for this publication, is related to that latent space that I was talking about. So that latent space is kind of an amazing idea. And let me show you in the publication, because they have a nice diagram. So open image in new tab, not the new tab. Oh, well. So let me just maybe zoom in. So basically they give this spectrum data, right, which is the audio signal. And there is this little blue vector here. That's the emotion vector, they call it. And that is what we are expecting the model to kind of learn on its own. And it acts like a filter. Not like a filter, but it acts like a data dump, more like. If the model can't learn a movement of the face from the sound signal, it is supposed to dump that information into that latent vector. So this kind of works in an interesting way, and I want to go back to that Paul Ekman stuff, because it kind of works from his publications as well. So Paul Ekman at the time found out that when we talk, giving a speech, or I don't know, talking with friends, we have spontaneous emotions on the face. And we can categorize these spontaneous emotions. Some of them, he says, are facial emblems. And what he means by facial emblems are like when you're maybe telling a story, you're emoting to show someone is scared. That is a facial emblem. But if you're talking and you're unconsciously making some facial movements that doesn't contribute to the sound you make, he calls them spontaneous emotions. So these spontaneous emotions, in his work, he observes that they're usually longer than 1 second. They're usually between half a second to 2 seconds for most emotions, but for disgust and scary, like spontaneous emotions, those are shorter on the half a second frequency or period. I don't know. But basically, from this observation, I believe they don't really explain it in the publication. They basically built this model to filter out the facial movements that contribute to the sound that we make, that are under half a second. They're usually like 100 to 500 milliseconds. The shapes that we do with our mouth to produce sound. But the rest of it are spontaneous emotions, which are usually in the period of 1 to 2 seconds. So this loss function is built on that idea that whatever we want to dump in that emotion vector has to be the portions of that signal that are longer than half a second. So the loss function becomes then smooth the signal as much as possible until it's not changing over time faster than half a second, which is kind of genius in my opinion. But yeah.
So, if you don't mind, another question: how are these models portable between speakers? Like, would a model that's built around my speech still work for your speech?
Yeah. So that's kind of the reason why they build a spectrogram rather than giving like a raw audio signal. So with a spectrogram, if you, maybe I did some mistakes in my code, but if you design it right, you can, especially with the mel frequency spectrograms, you can get the intonations and characteristics of the voice separated from the actual vowels or I don't know, A sound or B sound. You can actually separate those with a spectrogram, because most of the frequencies that define character, like a female voice versus male voice, you would get the frequencies shifted from low end of the pitch to high end of the pitch. So you can actually kind of make a spectrogram and feed it in to make it work for different voices. That's actually what they kind of used on the deep speech from Google to, how they do dictations with your voice to the assistant or whatever. They use the same methodology with MFCC and spectrograms with neural networks.
Interesting. Teşekkür.
No worries, man. But the interesting part about characteristics comes at the end of the model, because when you record an actor or an animator does his work for your model, there is usually some characteristics of speech visually that wouldn't exist on another character. So what they suggest with this model originally is that you should train this model per character or talking style. But there is another publication that some, I think, German guys came up with called VOCA. I'll type it in here. That's an interesting model because they kind of separate those characteristics in one go as well, but it doesn't look as good. You should check that out as well if you're curious. But yeah, if you just type VOCA, you should find it. But yeah, any other questions?
What are you going to do next? What's your next big...
Right. So this is not done. This is far from done. I almost forgot. I need contributors for this. So I want to have this model hopefully working. And after it's working, I want to make it available as a tool for maybe Blender or as a standalone application. And I may not have time for that. And I would like that sooner than later. So if there are any people in this chat or in this thing that knows how to do Blender add-ons, just reach out to me in the Slack channel, or if you know anyone that might be interested, I would love to have contributors because I'm starting to work tomorrow, and I don't know when I may come back to this and what my next project might be, because I'm also talking with some friends to do some animation work as well.
How can people find out about it? Do you have like a page people can go to?
Yeah, of course. Let me type that in here as well. Right now, it's here.
Cool.
But on my GitHub page, you can contact me as well.
Cool. And then if you're on our Slack channel, maybe Amit, you can post your links on our Slack as well.
Yeah, of course.
Cool.
On Slack channel, I kind of did a transcript for this because I didn't know if this may work out or not with the presentations or sharing links or whatnot. So there's like a Medium article, or you can just message me on Slack, and I'm happy to talk about this if it's useful to you. And I'm willing to share my data as well, that 14 minutes data, but I'm not making it available online because it's a large data set. And other than hosting it somewhere, I also want to know, I'm interested in knowing what you might do with it, because I want appropriate credits that would go to the voice actor. So if you want the data, I'm open for it as well. Just send me a message. The code is out there, so you can actually train this on your own if you have a GPU.
Sorry, what GPU did you say you're using right now?
1080 Ti.
Oh, okay, thanks.
No worries, but it really doesn't matter. Like, I kind of wrote this code to work with lower end GPUs that are NVIDIA as well, because I'm not even using like 2% of the memory on that device. So it should work fine with other GPUs.
I have AMD though. So.
Yeah, that's all right. Maybe I can give you a trained version of this model when it's done, and that works on CPU as well pretty fast. When it's done, I'll post it on Slack. So
Look forward to it.
no worries.
Well, awesome. Thanks, Amit.
No worries.
Sweet. All right. Does anyone else have any work that they're currently doing that they'd like to share? Mimi, do you have something you'd like to share?
No. I nominate Tim. Tim's been posting like one a day for Touch Designer, hasn't he?
Yeah, Tim, we need to hear your thoughts on machine learning because I know you have some.
Yeah, well, I was using different stuff though. I was using Runway, which is like, yeah, like Amit's doing like the proper way. Using,
That's okay.
like,
Don't say that.
I want to see this hack method. Share your screen, Tim. Let's see what you've been working on.
I don't have anything ready here.
I don't know. Just tell us about your daily process then. The kind of experiments you've been doing.
Maybe
Maybe just pull up your Instagram so we can take a look.
A second here. Okay. So I will put that in the chat. And that can do that, I guess. Okay, so yeah. Starting January 1st, my friend Adam and I decided to do daily posts, specifically Touch Designer, because we both have used it, but it's super deep and there's kind of just a lot of different things you can do with it. So unless you have a reason to touch on those things, it's really hard to actually try them all and kind of see how they function. So yeah, we decided to try to do just daily experiments of some kind, just to kind of stay in like, you know, creative mind space, but yeah, also just kind of learning new things. So I posted my Instagram in the chat. How do I share my screen? The title, bottom left. Okay. Chrome tab. Okay. So yeah, this is my Instagram. And so yeah, a little while back, I started messing around with generative adversarial networks. Does this work? Does that look like anything when I play it?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. And so generative adversarial network, for those that aren't aware, is basically the ones that I've seen are trained on image data, but I think they can be used for other things actually. But the idea is that there's two parts of the machine learning network. The first one is trained on some kind of images and tries to reproduce those images. And the second one, I think they're called generator and discriminator. So the generator generates, obviously. The discriminator tries to decide if the image is from the data set, like an original image, or if it's from the generator. So basically, it teaches itself how to be better at making convincing images. So like in this case, this one kind of goes a little fast, I guess, but like this one, people really liked this one. Like none of these images are photos. These are all created by the network, which is really, I don't know, it's kind of weird. And so these little animations are basically just running. The first few I made here were just running pre-trained networks and navigating the latent space that Amit was talking about. And so as you move through the latent space, you just get a slightly different result. And so in this case, using noise functions, you can get results that are different but still close, and it kind of looks like an animation. Yeah, and this was all done through Runway. And I will. Wait, how do I share this one? Stop that one, and I guess I could also just share my screen. Application window. That. Okay, so yeah, Runway. This is Runway, just runwayml.com. It's actually pretty cool. I recommend checking it out because it's, as it says on the screen, it's for creators, so it's intended to be as approachable as possible. You don't have to write any code to use this stuff, though there are ways to interface with it with your own code if you want to. And so they give you, to start out with, you have like cloud GPU credits. They give you like $10 worth. Also, coding train Runway ML. Dan Schiffman did a intro to machine learning using Runway, which is pretty good. And I recommend checking this out. I think the most exciting. Oh my God, no. Don't want your ads. Okay, so I will post that link. So if you're curious, that's a pretty easy way to get started. And I think he gives you a code for like 10 more GPU cloud credits as well. I ran a whole bunch of models, like, what do we got here? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's like 10 days worth or something like that, and I spent less than like $10 worth of those credits. It's like not very expensive at all. Yeah, I definitely recommend checking that out. And then this one here, using the same system, I actually trained this using graffiti images scraped from Flickr. So I think this was 3,000 training steps, so 3,000 images, and it took about 6 hours to train it. So yeah, again, this one is just it trying to produce convincing images that it thinks look like graffiti. Some of them are really weird. And then I guess, yeah, since that stuff, I just lost my whole thing here. Since that stuff, I've been doing some like kinetic type stuff in Touch Designer, because despite what I said at the beginning here about doing things in Touch Designer, I kind of went off the rails doing the machine learning just because it was all really just fun and intriguing. Yeah, I wanted to get back into Touch Designer, so been messing around with some type instancing stuff. Touch Designer is like a weird environment for this because it's really good for 3D and like processing lots of data, but it doesn't have much in the way of helping you with like proper typography. So so this stuff is literally like making 3D geometry and applying text as textures is basically how all of this is working. So and then this stuff, I can post a link to, there's a really good series of tutorials that I've been going through for this that is actually going through using waveforms to generate 3D geometry and then applying instanced textures to like take typed input and put it onto 3D geometry, basically. And so this one actually, in the process of making these guys, I've also been building up like a little UI for putting these in. Actually, I don't know how this is going to run if I try to share that, but I can try to share that. Oh, I didn't post the, I didn't post this guy, or did I? Yeah, I did. Never mind. I'll share my screen. Cool. Okay. If I go to another desktop, does this... Do you guys see a Touch Designer window right now?
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Okay. So yeah, this is like the little tool, and this is like exactly where I left off last night when I exported my last one. So this one has you can see the little UI that I have, so I can like adjust like the height and like the size of the geometry, the text size, so like the individual instances. We can like rotate it around in 3D. I have like an inversion as well. I'm doing some Luma blur stuff that makes it look bad there, but and then also like some different types of oh, my computer's freaking out. I don't know if it likes streaming this. Weird. And then there's like just like a text input, but yeah, the part that I find kind of interesting is that this is all just based on like this guy right here is just taking a noise function and using that to describe the like X, Y, and Z locations of geometry, and then building that's hard to see, I guess, but then building some geometry out of that, putting some textures on it. Yeah, anyway, this is all kind of maybe deeper than I need to go with how this works, but
is that just some random geometry?
Yeah, so I can change it. Like if I go in here and like change the seed for the noise, it's going to give some different geometry out. I have some different geometry types in there, but for whatever reason, while I'm streaming this, it doesn't like the other geometries, so I'm going to leave it on.
You know, actually,
cool,
this is a really good test for the robustness of Jitsi. So you're helping stress test it.
So yeah, like you can kind of play around with the settings for the noise to get different forms out of it, but Yeah, I don't know. I don't need to go super in depth with like how this one works, but I guess in general, doing the daily thing has been helpful. Again, I did it once before for a year, so I know that I can do it. It has definitely been helpful in terms of giving me a reason to actually get through the list of things that I want to learn. And having a list is definitely helpful if you ever want to try something like this, because there's a lot of days where it's like, like midnight or 1 a.m. and I'm like, oh shit, I haven't done my thing yet. What am I going to do? So in those instances, having a list of just things that you want to try is super beneficial.
Does everyone know Beeple here? Is everyone familiar with Beeple? I think he started it, right? I think he was the first.
I don't know if he was the first, but he's been doing it forever. So.
Yeah. Over 12 years or something, which is insane.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Do you know if this Runway ML has an SDK for mobile? Because I'm looking at their website where I can't find.
I doubt it. It's very like it's resource intensive, so phones are not really the place.
Once you have the models, it should. It's a training. It's mostly a training tool, no? And then it has some extra tools for like using those models, but I don't know if it has some kind of mobile SDK or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure. You can interface with it using like HTTP requests though. So like that's what I was using for the latent space navigation stuff was.
Like on that latent space idea, you should try it, because I seen on the front page they can generate optical flow. While you interpolate the latent space, you should generate optical flow on top of it to kind of displace it in Touch Designer. Try that. That's kind of what Refik Anadol is doing.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, his stuff is awesome.
Yeah.
He has some crazy training data though. He said he had like 47 million images or something. Like
yeah,
I don't even get that.
It's excessive. you can do with less.
Right. But yeah, I'm not sure. I would check out this coding trained intro, Omar.
Okay.
He covers it really well, and yeah, he doesn't really beat around the bush. So
yeah, because I wanna like so what I do is like video processing, right? So but in real time. So I wonder if I can use something from here, maybe pose estimation or style transfer.
Pose estimation you can almost get in real time. Style transfer, not really. GANs definitely not.
Segmentation, like separating the human subjects from the background. Those kind of things.
Right. I'm gonna stop sharing.
There are real-time models for that generates like depth maps to separate the segment. But
yeah, but like once you have the model, then you have you have to implement it properly, right?
Yeah, but there are some GitHub repos that already give you the trained model. We can try to set something up for you if you want.
No, we already have some experiments with that.
Okay, cool.
But it's I was wondering if this thing would add some value to adding other kind of.
It's usually cheaper if you host it yourself.
Yeah, I'm sure. Most things are cheaper that way.
Yeah, but it's not as complicated. Like once you get it up and running, which I can help with if you like. So let me know.
Sure.
Just a quick question, Tim, with with the machine learning pieces, could you characterize them in like terms of how long the render time is on them, or how long the computer's working to put these together?
That depends which ones you're talking about. The GAN stuff renders pretty fast. It's like 3 to 500 milliseconds a frame, something like that. So not real time, but pretty fast. Some of the style transfer stuff that I was testing was like up to a minute per frame.
Oh, really?
Which is super slow. Yeah, those are the only ones I can remember off the top of my head. But so
right. The graffiti one, for instance.
Yeah, so that one, the training took like 6 hours, and then just running it was about like 20 minutes or something like that. I have this. I can post. There's a tutorial that I found for that as well. On AML latent space. This guy basically made this JavaScript web thing that sends HTTP requests into Runway to have it move around space. I'll post this in the chat. Yeah. So if you wanted to play around with making some of those style GAN animations, that little tutorial makes it pretty easy.
Beauty, thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Tim, can you explain to me a little more about how a GAN works? So this is my assumption. I could be totally wrong here, but so basically what you're doing is an adversarial network. So it like keeps iterating based on the training data, different series of images, and then the adversarial network basically compares the iterated version to what an actual photo looks like, and it either accepts or rejects it based on the accuracy of the image. Is that sort of how it's working? Like, let's say the graffiti as an example. At what point do you stop it, or does it just endlessly keep iterating back and forth between the two networks?
Well, in my case, I stopped it when I ran out of free training credits.
Okay.
So basically, the longer you train it for, the better it gets, and it gives you what the hell is the number called? There's like a confidence value for the network. I can't remember what it's called though.
You put it nice. The confidence value is nice.
Yeah. There's a more specific word for it, but and so like the longer you train it, the more the closer the images that it generates will be to the stuff that the data set that you gave it.
You mean the accuracy, or
is it like F by D?
I don't know.
If I had the thing open, I would.
But kind of this generative adversarial networks, when they categorize if it's right or wrong for the adversary part, it actually doesn't do like a binary categorization. It actually tells how much right or how much wrong you did, so the other network can adjust according to how much it did wrong. It's not just like this is right, this is wrong.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, what does it consider an error or an error threshold? Like, what would be considered a visual mistake?
It's ever evolving. It basically considers no error to start with. Then you train them together. First, it just passes noise as right. Then they will start growing together. First the adversary, then the generator. That's kind of the beauty of it. When they evolve together, it's more stable as they train together.
Okay, because like I noticed on like Tim's, like when you were doing the montage of buildings, like I noticed some buildings had like a weird gradient where it just sort of blended into the sky. So I mean, I'm assuming that if it continued with the training data, that kind of error would be eliminated eventually,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. What's a bidirectional GAN? Oh, there's a discriminator that naturally considers the entire translation space. The inadequate training problem can be alleviated. Interesting.
Runway also has really good videos that are like, some of them are like intros to Runway, but they have a lot that are just talking about like what machine learning even is. Sorry, just trying to see if I can find one of these. What machine learning even is, and like how these things work. Maybe I can post some of that, because like he explains it a lot better than I can with really good examples. Here we go. I think this one here is the one that I watched.
Is this on YouTube?
Yeah.
Can you actually try maybe like share a YouTube video? Like use it from the Jitsi menu so it's smooth playback. If you go to the bottom right with the 3 dots.
Yeah, share a YouTube video.
Yeah, it'll mute everyone, but it'll be smooth playback.
Hey, Runway fans, Gene here, and
can you guys? Oh no.
Working with generative models, and we're going to learn how to make them using and work with them in Runway. And this is going to be the first in a series of videos. We're going to start today just by introducing these and showing how
he covers like the history of like how these models like evolved to where they are as well. So I don't know. This one might be a little long for this format.
Oh, I see. Okay, no, that's cool though. Interesting. I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions about what Tim has been working on? Stephen wants you to post the YouTube link in the chat. Tim?
Yeah, I'm posting it.
Oh, sweet. Thanks. Thank you.
Is the chat transcript somehow saved? Like, how am I going to find the link later, sort of thing?
That is a good question. I actually don't know the answer to that. I hope so.
Zoom saves it. Okay.
Are we recording?
No, we're not.
Oh, okay. Oh, there is a recording thing. Oh.
There's an option, yeah.
We can copy the chat to Slack when we're done, or some text.
Good idea. Yeah, you should be able to.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not that much, so we can totally do that. Cool. That's awesome, Tim. I guess my question is, like, how did you choose your subject matter for training purposes?
For that one, I don't know. I thought it would be cool, but also it was easy to scrape images from Flickr. So yeah. I don't know. I thought it might have interesting results using like art, and then also thinking that with street art, it's also getting lots of sort of like natural / built environment in there, not just the image that you want. So I figured it would do weird things.
Yeah, I'm curious how that like changes things like copyright and originality, right? Because I mean, you can have totally created custom stock imagery, and you technically own the rights, but it's to something that nobody, like, you are the creator in a way now, right? So it's like there'll be more original content on the web, or there'll be more examples of like fake people.
Well,
which I find kind of interesting.
Are you the creator, or is the GAN the creator?
Well, that is the question, right? I mean, you've decided to stop it at a certain point and take an iteration of a training network, but you're right, you didn't create it, you just went in at a certain point and grabbed it. So like, does that give you the right to use that wherever you want, or what does everyone else think?
I mean, you also selected for the input, right?
That's true.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just old, but these machine learning things just kind of freak me out to a certain extent. There's this black box that we kind of know how it works, but not really. That just makes beautiful things. That, I don't know. As long as it's got a power cord I can yank out, I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Well, something interesting, Stephen, you posted about creating the ice cream flavor. So the concept of machine learning kind of eventually evolving its own language. Did you guys hear about that? You know, where it's like it'll use English words in a different way that makes sense to it, but not to us.
Oh, that's just too weird.
Right. So it's like that ice cream flavor was like, what was it? Fudge butter. Right. I mean, it doesn't make sense to us, but to the machine, it's a new evolved flavor. So
Have you guys seen the AI dungeon thing?
no, what's that?
It's so there is this model called BERT, and they basically trained this model with insane amounts of data from the internet, mostly Reddit, I think, and books and whatnot. And OpenAI decided to not release the results because they thought it would be too easy for malicious intent to generate fake stuff that is believable. And they only release parts of the model, which is kind of dumbed down version of it. And someone came up with an RPG game using it, and they kind of hosted it online. I'll paste the link.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. Yeah, I guess you can. It's all the whole thing about inherent bias too, right? Like the model is only as good as the training data, and if the training data is biased, then it'll just continue that bias as it progresses, right? So I guess a lot of the effort is trying to find unbiased data.
I don't know what the bias might have been in this thing, but this was amazing fun. I kind of wrote a chatbot for Discord, and we played it for a few days. And at some point, I decided to give it a prompt in Turkish, and somehow it kind of generated some Turkish stuff that looked like something. And we were kind of scared.
So sorry. So it's the training data is just what exactly?
The training data is basically what's written on internet, mostly Reddit, I think.
Oh, I see. They're just random threads, like random conversations.
Yeah,
oh my God.
It figures out the distribution, like statistical distribution of what word comes next to the other within a sentence. And once you give it like a paragraph or a sentence, it tries to complete it.
Is that called predictive text? Is that like another?
I guess so. Like, yeah, I guess that's what you would call it.
Oh, okay. Because yeah, there's this guy on Twitter that's quite famous, and he basically uses predictive text to like he feeds it scripts as training data, like an Olive Garden commercial, and then he'll just generate like an AI version of it, and they're the funniest things I've ever read because they're almost like they use the same cliches of like other commercials, but things are just a little broken, and that lack of perfection, that slight brokenness makes it just even funnier.
The scary thing is the OpenAI stuff. This is the dumb version, right? That OpenAI stuff doesn't even give away the brokenness of it. It's kind of scary.
It's not clumsy. Like it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, man, it's really good. They held it back because they thought it would be too easy to do fake content on social media during the election season.
Right.
So they gave time to the social media platforms to deal with it. Then they would release the whole thing.
So theoretically, you could actually have an ad network that would find the sentiment of people on social media,
Yeah.
and then based on that, generate ad copy and images, and then
Yeah.
just start disseminating that, and then using AI once again to target who would be the most affected by that sentiment.
Well, you can also generate like this bot networks on social media pretty much in an instant. So that is scary.
Yeah.
Like a moderator cannot distinguish if it's an actual person or a bot.
Jesus.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note,
I can show my can show something.
yeah, Omar, go ahead. Here, share your screen as well.
Okay, so I'm gonna try something. Who knows what I work for Generate, and I want to try something. Raise your hand, those who don't know Generate.
So on the bottom left of your screen, there's a hand icon. Just click it if you've never heard of Generate before.
So everybody knows Generate.
I guess everybody knows.
You're in good company.
Oh, there's they're away from keyboard. Okay, so most of you know me. I work for Generate. We are an agency, but mainly we have one main product, which is a mobile app that does. It's a photo filter app. And see, so I'm sharing my screen. See if I can. Okay, and we have the agency side of the company, which is called The Assembly, and it's now located in Toronto, and it's the agency part of the company, and what we do is experiential projects and things like that, brand activations and things like that, digital experiences. This website is actually not exactly finished. It shows some of the work that we've done, photo booths and projections and things like that. But this year we're launching a new version of our app. This is our Instagram page. The Generate app it's a mobile app that runs on iOS and Android, but right now we're focusing on iOS. And this is the kind of content that you can create with the app. Now, this app has been in the App Store for several years now, and you can actually find it right now in the App Store, but it's pretty old and outdated. It's running. It's. I want to show it to you. This is the one that is on the App Store right now. Oh, it's not showing.
It was showing for a second.
Yeah.
Something went weird with the aspect ratio, though. There it is. Okay, weird. There it is.
So this is the one. This is the one that is in the App Store. It's pretty old and outdated, and it has a social network. But it's we haven't touched it for a while. So we are doing everything from scratch now. One of the reasons is that that this version of the app is running a old version of a library that allows us to run to do the filters, the shaders that we run. For example, this one. And this library is pretty old too, not really maintained anymore, and it's written in Objective-C, and and renders using OpenGL. One of the reasons we decided to move away from all of this and that library is because Apple is deprecating OpenGL in all their platforms. So we are trying to replicate everything that we've done, but now in metal instead of OpenGL, metal. So we're trying to develop all our filters again from scratch. Now writing them in metal code, which is pretty similar to OpenGL code. And yeah, so this is the current app that used to have many features, like we'll still have them, like live streaming to Facebook, loading images from your library and create videos from them, and lots of things. So it's also one of the things that it's pretty well known for is the audio reactivity feature, that it uses a microphone or an audio file to affect the visuals of each filter, depending on which one you have. So now what I want to show you is the unreleased version that we are developing right now, which is this one. So you can see the interface is quite different. But now we have this feature where you have these slots at the center of the screen, and on each slot you can load a filter, and then they will stack each other. So for example, if I select the first one and I select on the glitch tab, select the first one, that's like a glitchy VHS kind of effect that it's constantly animating. You probably see it in low frame rate right now on your stream. But then I can go to the second slot and add, for example, Prism. And now Prism is on top of the first filter. And I can also activate the animation toggle here. It will start doing its own thing. Or make it auto reactive. Each filter can have their auto reactive toggle. And then from here, you can start recording. You can record a few seconds and then stop. And at the top left corner, you'll see that that's similar to what TikTok or Instagram, where you're recording stories. In this case, you record several short videos, and you can create different kind of effects. While you're recording, you can adjust the sliders, and that will get recorded too. So it's more of a performance kind of tool. And then once you finish, let's say I recorded just 2 videos here, but then once you finish, you can preview that, and it will stitch those 2 videos one after the other, and then you can export this, share it on Instagram or whatever. And we have things like changing the aspect ratio. And one of the things that we were working on was style transfer, which is this tab here. We have a bunch of models here. This was developed by one, I think, SFU student, Homemade. Maybe some of you know him. He's working with Philippe Pasquier, and doing his PhD in machine learning. So he helped us develop this tool to create the models, and then we're using Apple's Core ML framework to load them and send each frame from the camera through that pipeline, and then get something back. It was challenging because it wasn't really compatible. Like, there were some issues with the frame rate and memory load and stuff like that, because this is style transfer happening in real time. And he had to optimize the models in a way that it was fast enough to be processed in certain resolutions, and if you go landscape or portrait or squared, all of that. But yeah, right now the style transfers are independent from the other filters, so you cannot stack them together. For now, that's how it's going to be. And yeah, so we just recently added lots to support for lots, so you can change how that looks. Lots are pretty simple, but you can the interesting part here is that you can stack them up and then play with that. And one other thing is that once you have, for example, 2 or 3 filters stacked together, you can do things like make combos. So here I have these 3 filters, and I can tap on this tiny little button that has a heart, and I can save it. And now in the combo section, in the combo tab, it will show up there. So here's my combo, in the midst of 3 filters. And now I can go to the second slot and add an extra combo here, one of my other combos, and then to the third slot and even one more. And then the thing is, you can make combos here and share them with your friends, like share the file, which is just a dictionary, like imagine a JSON file with all the data there, and you can share that, and they can open it here. But the only issue is that you cannot make combos out of combos. You can mix them here, but then once you have that, you cannot save it as a combo, because that would mean that it would make an infinite amount of filters stacked together, and people will start sharing that, and the phone won't be able to handle that, because that would be insane.
That looks so cool.
And so yeah, those are some of the limitations, and we're getting comments about like, hey, why I can make a combo with combos? Well, you can't because of that, but it's hard to explain that in the experience of the app. And what else? Yeah, we added, for example, tile. See if that works. Music. So I integrated Spotify, and we have control over the music that is loading here. I can pick one and then select where I want the music to start playing. And then once it's there, you can start recording and it will play. You don't hear that because it's all connected right now to my computer and the stream. But then the final video, once you compile all the videos, it will have the music and it will be audio reactive to the music. We added access to your music library in iTunes, and you can also import your own music files from the file system in iOS. This is all new. The other Generate app didn't have this kind of features. And yeah, you can also load images or videos from your phone, like this image here. It's just a static image, but you can make a video out of it. I could start recording and then play with the filter, and while I'm doing that, that's being recorded. Same for videos. So it's not exactly a TikTok thing, but it has certain aspects of the most novel photo filters app right now that are used for storytelling. This, of course, is more focused to artists and visual like visual artists that make these glitchy kind of things and funny effects. But yeah, this is how it is right now, and I don't know if you guys have seen anything interesting in this, like in this interface or experience, and have any feedback or comments about it. One more thing, Sam Cooper, that is in the conference right now, he's now joining us in helping with creating new filters, new shaders, and it's going pretty well. We are doing.
I think it wasn't psychedelic enough.
I wanted to ask, how do you stack the filters? Is it like the second one works over the first one using the output or whatever?
Yeah, it's like a pipeline. So it's
Nice.
There's certain classes that take the input from the camera in like raw, you would say, like no effect or anything.
Yeah.
And that filter processes it and then has an output, and that output is taken by the next filter and so on and so on.
It looks
Till
great.
the very end. Sorry, what?
It looks great. The stuff with the
The what with the what?
The dots and the chromatic aberration you did at some point looked
Yes, yeah, chromatic aberration it was one of the what is that one? Seal filters.
Since you're doing metal, are you only putting it out for iOS and stuff then?
Sorry, what?
Since you're using metal, are you only going to be putting it out for iOS then?
That's correct. Right now, it's only iOS.
Okay. Do you plan on putting it out for Android at some point?
Well, yeah, if you get enough money to hire developers for that.
The difference between Metal and OpenGL is actually not that significant. Like if you replace VEC with Float as just a certain search and replace, you're about halfway there porting from Metal or from OpenGL to Metal. You know, so it's
Android version confirmed.
Yeah. At some point.
Is Vulkan a thing on mobile? Because that's cross-platform, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is some implementations there. There's actually an SDK thing for iOS, but it's proprietary. I mean, the Vulkan thing it's open source, right? Like everyone can use it, but the implementation is the hard part, and that's where companies start doing their own things and selling it.
Right. Because I know like Apple's reluctance or refusal to support OpenGL is it's also a problem for Touch Designer, because they recently, well, I guess like a year ago now, they made a Mac version, but half of the 3D stuff doesn't work because Mac OS just doesn't even have proper OpenGL support. It's kind of weird.
Right. And it's not gonna get better in terms of OpenGL on Apple.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know why. Honestly, I don't know how's the low-level development of like these kind of rendering engines. But I wouldn't know why it's so hard to port something to Metal. Since that's, as Sam said, it's not exactly like the raw code is not exactly that different.
Well,
yes, you have
the shader code. I mean, all the rest of the code is going to be quite different. Like same things said in different ways mostly, but yeah, the shader code is the easiest part.
Hey Omar, what like technical limitations did you run into? Like, is there a reason why you only have up to 3 different filters in a filter group?
Oh, we can add more, but as I said, if we allow to add as many as you want, it can definitely cause the frame rate to go down, and we can't allow that. Like, we have to constrain it to be to have certain limitations, and especially because some of our filters are actually a mix of other filters. And some filters are quite raw and simple, and they're just they only have the shader code, and that's it. Some others are like shader code and another filter, and then contrast, and then saturation, and then some other crazy filter, and then we make that as a production filter that shows up in the carousel here. So if we allow people to use to stack as many as they want, you can see some problems there.
So what's the lowest acceptable frame rate that you would consider for this app?
We're running like 30 frames per second right now.
Yeah.
I think. But that definitely changes depending on how depends on the phone and the shader. Some shaders are more like heavy or not really optimized properly, and they're consuming a lot of memory somehow. I was actually trying doing 120 frames, like feeding 120 frames from the camera, and that it wouldn't work. I wouldn't be able to do it that fast. So we're sticking with 24 to 30 frames, and also because not all the phones can do it, right? Like, I tried this on an iPhone 6 and it works. Then iPhone 7, it works better, and so on, so on. So the more phones we can support, the better.
Cool.
This is the I can, if any of you guys are interested in playing with this, with like being part of the testing group, I can send you a link to download it to your phone and play with it. And you can take a screenshot and then write a comment and send it to the platform.
I have a shitty old iPhone 6s. Does that run on 6s?
Maybe. If it has the latest iOS, might run.
I'm testing on the iPhone 6 and it runs.
Have you tried running the style transfer effects in the iPhone 6?
Yeah, briefly. Frame rate's not great, but they run.
Okay. Yeah, iPhone 6 is pretty old, so it's good to know that at least some like the basic filters work fine. And yeah, I'm also trying to keep up with the iPad development so that the same interface runs on iPad. So yeah.
Cool. Thanks so much. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Thanks, everyone. Just overall, like, does everyone like the format? Are there any like considerations that you guys have, or like trouble logging in, or using Jitsi? What's everyone's feeling right now?
I think it's pretty darn good. One thing I might suggest is we kind of ignore the chat in the Jitsi and just stick it on the Slack instead.
Good idea. Good thinking. Cool. All right. Yeah, I'll take the chat that we have here and I'll paste it on Slack so that people have a history of some of the links that have been shared from the talk. But yeah, otherwise, I mean, I'm not thinking that the coronavirus is going to go away anytime soon. So if we do another meetup online in April, is everyone kind of game for that?
Yes, please.
Absolutely.
Sweet. Awesome. Yeah, maybe we could do something online, or Sam, if you have any ideas, like we could try your Tango Charlie Foxtrot experiment, but
that might work actually.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Okay, yeah, maybe we'll kind of cook up something special.
Yeah, I'll definitely have a few things to show off next month if anyone's interested.
Sweet. So thanks again, everyone. And yeah, that's a wrap.
Okay, thanks a lot. Have a good one, guys.
Take care, everybody. Have a good night. Stay safe.
It's like the time after the meetup where everyone's gone and the hardcores are left doing dishes.
This is actually just the same as it is in person.
Yeah, pretty
You're
much.
right, Sam.
I was just copying the chat.
Nice.
Oh, Tim, you want to post the chat on Slack? Oh.
I might just make a Google Doc of it or something.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
You just copy and paste the links. That would probably work.
Yeah, just wanted to grab it before it disappears or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm surprised this actually worked much better. I was expecting a complete catastrophe, so.
Nice.
Can't be let down by low expectations.
I can find their website. What's the limit for participants?
Apparently, at one point it was 50, but I'm looking at a forum from 2018. But I think they said eventually they would try to get it to the hundreds. So this is the only forum I found, but it's probably pretty old. Omar, I'll paste it in here. Yeah, at one point it was 50, and then but the other thing is, I mean, if we have a YouTube stream, then we could potentially have as many people as possible, right?
For watching, yeah.
Yeah, just
it's
for
actually
watching.
running right now. Let me check how that.
Can you tell me how many people like watched on YouTube, if any?
That's like 4.
4? Wow.
But I don't know if they stayed.
Oh, does YouTube show like in Facebook Live where it shows like the frequency of like how many people watched?
Like right now, it says concrete viewers 1, but it was 2 before. 3, it went all the way to 3.
Yeah.
Wait, we had it on YouTube? What? I didn't even know that was a thing.
Hey, Omar was streaming it on YouTube. It's like a 20-second delay, but it works, which is awesome.
Why?
I posted the link on Slack. So it's on. It has a chat room too, but I'm ignoring that.
Well, yeah, but okay. So the interesting thing about that is that chat is saved, and YouTube, like I believe those are automatically archived as well if we wanted to use that as a platform. But I don't know how that works for like passing.
Yeah, multiple speakers. I don't think it would be effective, right?
No. Facebook, YouTube doesn't have those tools.
Right.
YouTube is just streaming what you feed into the server.
And I just know someone like Tim Fernandez would not be keen on like going back onto Facebook to for any reason at all. So I think something open source and artist friendly like Jitsi is kind of like that happy medium. So.
Sure. Yeah.
I agree.
So what have you guys been up to? I haven't seen you in a month. Sam, how's life? How's life in the Cooper household?
Well, yeah, it's pretty good here. Who cares about voluntary quarantine? I got monitor 1, monitor 2, monitor 3. Don't worry about you. I didn't forget about you, monitor 4 and 5. Yeah, I mean,
can you tell us your setup, Sam? I want to see this.
Oh, yeah, sure. Just a second.
Just 20 screens.
Yeah.
So am I on the thing here? Yeah. Okay, so I'm on a laptop here, and I got another monitor attached to that laptop, and another 3 on the main machine here. Yeah.
I like the lights on the roof.
Yeah, I like Christmas lights, and they're cheap in January, so it makes a nice little lighting in here.
Nice. You mean you're not using spores? How dare you, Sam?
No, unless I need to do tech, I tend to stay pretty low tech.
Yeah, it's a good call. You got any cool? Well, I was going to ask. Like, I guess H4 probably had some planned installations, but I wonder if those kind of got.
We've been fucking decimated. I hate to say.
No, man, that sucks.
Yeah. So I mean, as Omar mentioned, I've been doing some work with those. With that crew and doing some work with Bingham, and I'm staying busy, but yeah, H4 is a bit in the weeds right now.
Yeah, how's the Chinese herbal company that you used to work for? How are they doing right now? Their ginseng supplements are those finally taking off.
Like, it's honestly a lesson in tech debt, man. I mean, this guy's running shit that he's been running for like 20 years, literally, and he's got fucking virtual servers everywhere. He doesn't know what even they do. So I help him sort through it as much as I can, but it's he's just drowning in his own tech debt to a large extent. It's a real warning that if you're doing your own thing, stick to existing platforms and things that you can just bring coders on for.
Yeah, otherwise everything's proprietary. That must be a huge nightmare.
Yeah, and it's in like MS SQL 2000 or something like that. Oh my good God, who I'm sure there's probably still other people running this stuff, but why, I have no clue.
A select few people, yeah. Okay. Well, it sucks to hear about H4, but I mean, I know it's everyone.
Hey, we're strong, we're happy, and we're gonna bounce back. But yeah, just right now we're in shit.
Yeah, I wonder if Tangible's experiencing the same thing too, and probably those guys.
I mean, I was visiting them. They just moved studios, so they were just using the time to set up their studio. I don't think they didn't seem too concerned about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure like any business that's not getting income is not happy about it, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wonder if people are pivoting more to online experiences. Like, I know Yasu wants to do an online, 24-hour touch designer meetup or something crazy like that. Like a touch designer hackathon. That would actually be kind of cool.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's adjusting. I liked how you called it Pandemia, Omar.
I couldn't find any. I was typing the first word that came to my mind.
It sounds like a prog rock band, Pandemia. Yeah. Well, cool. I'm glad you guys are keeping safe. Tim, are you still doing stuff with Emily Carr?